Welcome to the Farming Without the Bank podcast, the show with a no BS approach to money, hosted by a farm strategy expert and authorized IBC practitioner. Join us as we get real and expose the flaws of traditional financial institutions in order to help farmers take control of their finances, create peace of mind, grow their wealth, and leave a legacy. Now, here's your host, Mary Jo Ehrman.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here. Before I get started today, I am going to ask you to share the podcast. If you have not already, share it and find out if people think like you or if people just think you have absolutely lost your ever-loving mind because you are listening to me. Either way, I think that people are going to enjoy this because people are looking for answers. And it's really funny when I will meet with people and their neighbor is a client, but they don't even talk to their neighbor about it. They talk to the neighbor. I have one client that I interviewed, and somebody that was listening to the podcast said to him, "What do you mean you do this?" He was his employee. My client's employee was listening to me while my client is doing infinite banking and they don't talk about it. And so you never know. I mean, we have sold over 30,000 books at this point. So chances are, if you are farming, somebody else is doing it. Okay, let's get into it today. We're going to talk about more myths about IBC. So let me look at the first one I have written down here. Policies on kids are better because they are cheaper. Now, I have done a whole podcast on this, but we keep these myths short and to the point. Policies on kids are not better for cash value purposes up front. It really depends on what you are looking for. Is a policy on a child good? Yes. Did Nelson tell us we should have family banking? Yes. But that does not mean that you should be doing a policy on your kid instead of yourself. In fact, you can't. You need to have a policy on you before you can even have a policy on your kid. So it is not always better to be doing a policy on your kid. This is what a lot of people think too, is I'm going to do a policy on my kid so that they have more money when they're older. Well, if you're 30, 40, 50 years old, your kid is actually going to have more generational wealth if you do a policy on yourself and leave them the death benefit. And then they use the death benefit to buy more life insurance. So that strategy is not, I end up not talking people out of kids' policies, but straightening them out and clarifying that it's not always better on a child for cash value. Your agent or Mary Jo is just selling you a policy. She's just making commission. Well, this is funny because I just recorded the Without the Bank podcast, and that is all about being a salesperson. So you might want to just go listen to that one. However, very short and to the point here. Yes, I am selling the policy so I can teach you the infinite banking concept. That's it. Is there a death benefit so that if you pass away, your loved ones have something? Yes. Am I a so-called salesperson? Yes. Am I also a teacher? Yes. Get over it if you don't like it. Okay. Non-tobacco versus tobacco. Everybody will come in and be like, well, let's say I'm talking to the husband. They're like, oh, I'm a tobacco user, so let's just buy a policy on her because the cash value is better. It is, and you're going to die. So what does it matter? If we have a young tobacco user or a middle-aged tobacco user, I would actually prefer to put the policy on the tobacco user over the non-tobacco user because chances are you're not going to quit using tobacco. If you do, we can always change the rating of the policy. However, if you continue to use tobacco, you're just going to get more expensive every year, not cheaper. Your spouse, as a non-tobacco user, is always going to be cheaper. So we can always do insurance on that person later if we're not doing it on both of you. So many people get wrapped up into the fact that they're like, oh my gosh, we need to be doing this for cash value. Yes, you do, but there's also death benefit and you're going to die. So guess what? You both need the policy. Again, it is what it is. If you're going to use tobacco, just accept the fact that you're going to pay more. And I do have people that do, but others don't. Why? I just talked to a guy yesterday that his wife is overweight, so she didn't have as good a rating, so they bought less death benefit on her, as if she's not going to die. And now she had a stroke, and now she's not even insurable. So they're stuck with a little amount of death benefit because they didn't want to overpay. If you don't want to overpay, then you're going to have to get your health better or quit using tobacco, right? I mean, it's really, when people do that, it doesn't even make sense to me. I don't love that my husband is a tobacco user and my cash value is growing slower in those policies. I don't love that at all. But guess what? It is what it is. He's going to die and I'm going to want the death benefit. The next one, premium should be a percent of gross income. So many people come to me and say, well, how much should I be saving? Should I put 10% of my gross income there? Should I put 3% of my gross income there? And they're thinking about it like a 401k system. And there is no set percentage of what you should put there. You should put as much money through your policy as you possibly can and then finance your stuff through it. Because the more money you put through the policy, the more compound interest and dividends you have. So if you want to look at a percentage of it, then yeah, why not 10, 15, 20%? Why not 30%? Look at what you can put through the policy. How much premium can you pay? Turn around, borrow against it, and still make that loan payment. Because if you're borrowing so that you're using it for a cash flowing asset, let's say you're borrowing money because you're going to buy cows with it. Well, the calves should pay the loan back, right? So you don't have to worry about paying the premium because you were paying the premium out of pocket previously. So there isn't a percentage. It's not like this thing is saving you into retirement. I had that question this week too. And you can put a lot of money there. If you want to put 100% or 60% of your income or 50% of your income there, great. Then we can save you into retirement. But ultimately, we're not saving you into retirement at 3% or 5% or 8% or even 12%. Nor will your 401k save you to retirement. Which is the next one. Number 20, you can retire off of your policy cash value. No, you can't. I mean, unless again, you're putting enough through the system, you're not going to retire. I have 20-year-olds that are doing $20,000 a year. And is their cash value high when they're 85 and 65, 70, 85? Yes, absolutely. But inflation is eating everything up like crazy. And so if you are trying to save yourself into retirement, then use the policy, borrow the cash value, buy some cash flowing assets, pay the money back, and the policy is going to be there to supplement retirement. I have a lot of colleagues that talk about these policies and how you can use them for retirement. And that's kind of their shtick. That's what they're set on, is getting people to believe they can use these for retirement. I've yet to see anybody be able to put in as much money as they will need to live on today. So let's just use an example here. So let's say that you make $100,000 a year. Well, let's say you're 30, making $100,000 a year. Are you going to want to live on $100,000 at 65? Probably not, because if you're 30 making $100,000, your income is just going to go up from there. So by the time you're 65, you might be living on $300,000 a year. Well, do you want to drop your income back down to 100? Probably not. If you are 55 years old today and you are living on $100,000 a year, in 10 years, you're like, yeah, I can live on $100,000. Do you want to live on 80 or 70? Because do you really want to go down in lifestyle? You have to figure inflation in that calculation. And what are you making today? If you're 55 years old today making $300,000, you don't want to live on 100 because you're used to living on 300. And so everybody is different as far as how much they want to live on. And so if you want to live and you want to be like a miser and you don't want to go anywhere and you want to, retire like your grandparents, then yeah, maybe you can save yourself into retirement with a policy. I'm not going to be able to because I want to live like I'm living today. I don't want to have to take a pay cut. If I want to go on vacation, if I want to buy my grandkids stuff, I want to just go do that. I don't want to have to worry about balancing a checkbook. And so the more that you make, the more you're accustomed to living on, which means the more you have to save. So at retirement, you can live in that same manner. And some of you may think that that is wrong, and that's okay. But with inflation, nobody today is retiring. Our elderly people today who think that they could have lived on $1 million and they're 65, 70 years old and they're going to maybe live to 85, 90. You're not living on $1 million. Not happening. So if you're living today, it's going to take you $100,000 a year today to live or $50,000 a year. Then you got to pay taxes on all the money that you take out. I don't know. Not something that I think is possible. I've not seen the numbers to be possible after I've run the numbers. So it is something that is a talking point to sell the infinite banking concept. And it is great to use as a supplemental tool. But you are going to want some kind of a cash flowing asset. I don't care if that's a business. I don't care if that's real estate. I don't care if that's land. Does not matter what it is to me. You're going to want something that you can sell, you can rent, you can have some kind of cash flow coming from that. All right. That's it. That's all I got for you today. That has gotten us to 20 frequently asked questions or myths about the infinite banking concept. If I haven't hit on some other ones that you've heard, let me know. Happy to answer those. Otherwise, you guys let me know if you need me, MaryJo at withoutthebank.com. And you have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. We hope today's episode has inspired you to take control of your finances in new ways. Don't forget to check out our website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, and engage with us on our Facebook page, Farming Without the Bank. Join us next week as we smash more financial myths and empower you to accomplish your financial goals.